GearNetwork.com.
Hello, Sanjay. What are you doing? I am using my Gear Network app on my mobile device, my friend. Oh, Gear Network app. What is that? Well, do you listen to Get Ready America? No. Do you listen to Better Life Than Dead? No. Do you listen to Misguided Musings? I do not. No. Well, my friend, they are very good shows and they are on this network. You can download the app by visiting gearnetwork.mobapp.at and download it on your Android device and save it to your home screen on your Apple device. What is Android? That is an operating system. What is Apple? That is another operating system. Oh, but I cannot eat that operating apple? No, you cannot eat that operating apple. However, you can go onto the Gear Network app and shop on the Amazon and have Apple delivered to you. Oh, that is wonderful. Gear Network app. Hooray!
This is a Gear Network production.
Broadcasting worldwide on GearNetwork.com, sharing wrestling news and opinions. It's Talking Wrestling, and your host, JC.
And hello, everyone. Welcome to Talking Wrestling. This is episode number 32. This is the season premiere of the Talking Wrestling series. Yes, that's right. When Football Talk Weekly goes away, Talking Wrestling comes out to play. Hello, everyone. I am John Cimino, a.k.a. JC Money, for you folks in the wrestling world that know me from my wrestling days. And before I go ahead and get this episode started, I've got to pay some bills. As always, this episode and every podcast is made possible when you shop through our Amazon store. Visit GearNetwork.com. That's G-E-R-E Network.com. And click on the Amazon banner. It's real simple. Bookmark it so that way you will never forget to use our Amazon link and support us with your purchases. That's it. No funny business. No extra hidden fees. None of that. Amazon just kicks us off a small, tiny percentage of your purchases, and that helps support us and keeps us going and keeps us free and keeps us doing what we love to do here at Gear, and that's talk to you. So what is up? It has been as they would say in the old days, it has been a fat minute. I haven't talked to everybody in a while, at least the wrestling base. I mean, if you've tuned in to Get Ready America, then yeah, and I'm sure you did. Because there was an episode a few weeks ago where I was talking about Terry Cadillac and UW and their shenanigans. I'm not going to litter this podcast up with that crappy place, but if you feel froggy and want to leap, go ahead, take a listen to, I believe it's episode 32 and episode 37 of Get Ready America, where I tell the story, I give ample time. They obviously didn't do what I asked, so I gave up the boss on them. Real simple. But speaking of giving up the boss and big announcements and things that are happening, if you were around, let's say, I think it was last weekend or the weekend before. It was last weekend. I mean, time flies when you're having fun, doesn't it? Last weekend at the OSPW show out in Buffalo, New York, Tripp made a very, very big announcement. Depending on who you ask, he is hanging up. He's stepping away from wrestling. I don't necessarily want to say retiring. I don't want to say any of that stuff. He's stepping away from wrestling. Stepping away from, which includes stepping away from OSPW. He cannot, by virtue of, I think his last championship match he had with Bishop, who's the OSPW champion there, whom I thought was retired, but I guess I'm not as hip as I think I am with the game here, but in any event, Bishop's the champion. Bishop beat Tripp, and I guess the stipulation of that last match was that Tripp could no longer challenge for any OSPW championship so long as he's on the roster, I guess. That kind of coincides with the announcement that he made that he was going to be stepping away indefinitely, and he had a Final 4 that he wanted to wrestle. The first one is going to come in May.
and that is with Sean Carr. Then comes July at Wrestlefest, and it was the announcement that turned quite a few heads and blew up my Twitter feed. JC Money has accepted the challenge of Tripp to come back to the ring after a 4-year absence and wrestle him at OSPW's Granddaddy Show, Wrestlefest. Of all things, and I just, for me personally, I think it's pretty cool. I've always said that I would never say never. Yes, I clinched onto the retirement thing, and I said retire, okay, go ahead. I said the word retire, and I still do, and I still consider it a retirement because this is not me coming back looking for a spot to go back on the regular rotation every month, every weekend, every other weekend, or however long they do it, or other places, or things like that. It's not that at all. It is the one-off that I had been searching for, quite honestly, for the past 2 years. Those that know and those that follow, it's been highlighted on this program, too, Talking Wrestling in the earlier days when I did not really have a good podcasting voice, and I don't blame you if you don't want to sit through those episodes, but I was supposed to wrestle in 2014. I was supposed to make a brief comeback at Pier 6 Wrestling, and that did not happen. So, from a personal perspective, I wanted to do this because the last image anybody has of me as a wrestler is in the match, the tag team title match, where Bacardi Kid and I, as Simply Righteous, defended the Pier 6 Tag Team Championships against the Buffalo Outlaws. The last image of me as a wrestler is me clenching my arm in unbelievable pain and walking to the back and never stepping foot in the ring again. That's not ideally how I wanted the character JC Money to kind of go out. I wanted to go out on my terms, not necessarily, Mother Nature's or whatever you believe in, whatever fate you believe in, the deck of cards or anything like that. I didn't want to go out that way. So, but for me, I wanted to make it right. Like, I couldn't just come back and say, I want to come back and wrestle a match here. Give me Hard Hat Harry and let me work him. No thanks. I personally like, my ankles are shot and I'd like to keep what's left of them here. So I'm not going to get in the ring with someone like him and have him botch a schoolboy on me like you did Hellcat. Sorry, that's what you did. You're lucky Hellcat didn't kill you, honestly. But it's going to be cool. It's going to be awesome, and I want everybody that can be there to be there. It's going to be July 9th, and there's going to be much, much more in the way of PR and media and podcasts and everything promoting this show. We're also going to broadcast Get Ready America on site there, at least a portion of it. Got the travel equipment, getting the travel equipment ready, getting some new things coming into the Gear Network the studio, the company. So myself, Dawn, and Mr. Perez, who may be joining me as co-host here on Talking Wrestling, if not next week, then maybe in the weeks to follow, because he's a very big Lucha Underground fan, and I'm really not familiar with that. So he's going to be that perspective, and of course, it's always nice to get Perez here, but so that's that. So that's the story. I get into greater depth on the last episode of Better Live Than Dead, which was episode 83. Go back if you have the app, which you should, gearnetwork.mobapp.at, download it. There you go. But if you go to Better Live Than Dead, episode 83, Ryan Wolf and I kick off the show. I get into greater detail from my perspective. So listen to that. I don't want to sound like a broken record going on and about that. But that being said, my opponent at Wrestlefest, Tripp, will be on this broadcast today. I'm going to interview him. We're going to talk about his what led to his decision, what his career highlights were, lowlights were, the Final Four, and then particularly, me and why, this had to happen. I know why, but I want you guys to know why. So it's going to be good, and I want you all to listen in and, of course, provide feedback on the Facebook, which is facebook.com/thejcmoney, or on Twitter. That is twitter.com/thejcmoney. But enough about me. We're talking wrestling, and part of that is going to be the latest in wrestling news that I find. So I've got the little handy-dandy iPad here. So let's begin. John Cena evidently is cleared to return
It is only a rumor and speculation at this point. John Cena does routinely come back from injuries very quickly. I don't believe he is going to be inserted into a match at WrestleMania. Could be wrong, but I do expect him to be involved somehow, and my gut is telling me that I think it's going to end up in the Shane McMahon versus Undertaker match. Somehow Cena's going to get involved, and I think that's going to ultimately set up John Cena against The Undertaker at next year's WrestleMania, which could very well be The Undertaker's swan song. Although, at 50 years of age, deadlifting 500 pounds and jumping 40 inches, that's not too shabby at all, you know. So who knows? Who knows how long The Undertaker's going to be doing it? Could he hit the 55, 56-year-old mark like Sting did? Maybe. Not sure, but it's always a treat to watch The Undertaker wrestle. So as long as he can do it, I assume he will continue to do it. The WWE announces a partnership with Snapchat. Now, I know social media, you know, at least the big social medias, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, the non-big ones like Google+. You know, everybody knew what MySpace was. Snapchat, I've heard of. I'm not very familiar with it. I don't have it. But evidently, they are looking to do a WrestleMania live story, which I guess involves everybody taking pictures or videos of themselves and sending it to WWE through Snapchat, and apparently they compile all of them or compile some of them or the best ones, and they're going to make what they call a WrestleMania live story. If you're a Snapchat user, have at it. Let me know how that works out, because I know nothing about Snapchat as well. And some news for you fans of women's wrestling, or the divas of the WWE. I've made it quite clear I am not a fan of women's wrestling and never have been, but I really am not a fan of the whole divas title, the divas division, the term diva. I think it's just silly. It's stupid. I don't know. I've never been a fan of it. I don't want, you know, I wouldn't want my little girl growing up saying, I want to grow up to be a diva. Like, do you know what diva means? It's different meanings to different people. In the football world, it's for your flashy wide receivers. But ultimately, it's the same thing in terms of behavior. So, the term diva, I think, is a really silly and stupid term. And evidently, the WWE now is going to be taking the Divas Championship and doing away with it and restoring the Women's Championship. Apparently they're taking that division seriously now, which is good, I guess, you know. Again, not really a huge fan of women's wrestling, never have been, but I do like the history of professional wrestling, and the WWE Women's Championship is history. It is, you know, Fabulous Moolah. It is Sensational Sherry. It is Alundra Blaze. It is Trish Stratus and Lita. It was the Women's Championship, not so much the Divas Championship with the little butterfly. It was just kind of cartoonish, and I didn't like it. I like that even less than I like the WWE's tag team belts, which is the bronze, like, warrior medal or helmet, you know, whatever. I don't know. It's just, they're stupid looking. They should not have changed the championships at all from the old days. But I'm an old timer, so, you know, you young folks out there may not appreciate any of the classics as much as us old timers do. But in any event, the rumored design for the championship, it's kind of taking an idea from UFC, where UFC's championship belts are all kind of look the same, and they're you know, bigger, depending, you know, their size fitting to the division. So your middleweights, you know, the belt isn't as big as the heavyweight belt or that type of thing. And the ladies UFC championship belt it looks exactly like the main UFC belt. It's just smaller. WWE is evidently going to be doing something similar to that, a design that is similar to the WWE World Heavyweight Championship on a smaller scale. And the rumor is that it's going to have a white strap, and in the center plate where it says WWE, there's going to be a red background, instead of the black background like the World Heavyweight title has. Again, much smaller scale. I'm actually a fan of that because then it doesn't devalue that particular championship. It looks like the major men's title. That's cool. I like that idea. So, and all right, I've hit that up. I'm reading notes on my iPad as we go along here. So now it is time for what I call a talking wrestling tradition. And it is where I will give the predictions. I want you guys to give predictions too. Facebook.com/thejcmoney. Do it. I like to compare, and I like to see where we end up. So how about this? Hey, Dawn, do me a favor. Cue up that old WrestleMania music. No, the old one. The old one from back in the day, back when I used to watch it. Like WrestleMania 6, 7, 8. There you go. That's right. Gotta break out the classics every once in a while. Okay, so WrestleMania 32. I'm just going to run through the matches real quick and who I think is going to win. Maybe not necessarily why, but I will go ahead and get that for you. So, first match, United States Champion Kalisto versus Ryback. I'm thinking it's Ryback's time. I'm going Ryback on that one. The Total Divas versus BAD and Blonde. Bad and Blonde. I don't really know what that is, but I'm going to say the Total Divas. The Usos against the Dudley Boys. The Dudley Boys returning to WrestleMania for the first time in well over a decade, so they're the bad guys. The Usos, they're tag team titles not on the line there. No big thing. I'm going to take the Dudley Boys over the Usos. Dudley's over Usos. They're going to move on, and they're going to end up wrestling the New Day for the tag team championships, because I have the New Day beating the League of Nations and retaining the tag team championship. And by the way, New Day rocks. We know them. The third annual Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, I'm going to say I'll take the Big Show again, 2 years in a row, and gives the Andre the Giant like pose like he did last year. Whatever. AJ Styles against Chris Jericho. AJ Styles over Jericho. Jericho routinely wrestles newcomers and is willing to put them over. AJ Styles is not a newcomer to professional wrestling, obviously, but he is a newcomer to the WWE. I see Chris Jericho doing the same thing he did for Fandango a few years ago. AJ Styles over Chris Jericho. Intercontinental Champion Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn versus Dolph Ziggler, Zack Ryder, Sin Cara, The Miz, and Stardust in a 7-man ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship. Last year's match opened the show. It was a great start to the show, and apparently the music's going to stop, so we'll just leave it at that. It was a great start to the show. Luke Harper, which by the way, get well soon, Luke Harper, had successful knee surgery. Luke Harper powerbombed Dean Ambrose through a ladder from the inside the ring to the outside of the ring. It was honestly, it set the pace. I expect this one to do the same. As far as a winner of the match, I want to say Dolph Ziggler. I've just got a feeling about Ziggler. I think they may give Ziggler his WrestleMania moment. I know Zack Ryder got randomly thrown in there, and that's cool. And it would be cool for him to have his WrestleMania moment with the Intercontinental Championship, but I think it's Dolph's for the taking, so I'm going to go with that. Triple threat match for the Divas Championship. Charlotte versus Becky Lynch versus Sasha Banks. It's a triple threat match for the title. I see... I'm going to say Charlotte. She's Ric Flair's daughter. Flair's going to manage her, but I think that if they're going to bring back the Women's Championship on Raw the next night, if that's indeed the plan, and they're going to kind of, restore the tradition and the legacy of the Women's Championship, I think the person to have to do that would be Charlotte, because she could essentially be the Ric Flair of the women's division. So I think that's probably what's going to happen. Then you've got Shane McMahon versus The Undertaker in a Hell in a Cell match. And the stipulations for this match is Shane McMahon, should he defeat The Undertaker, he is going to control Monday Night Raw. Should The Undertaker win, Shane McMahon obviously would not, and The Undertaker would still be able to wrestle in WrestleMania. Undertaker can't lose, I guess, is what it boils down to, is if Undertaker loses, he'll never be able to wrestle, quote-unquote, at a WrestleMania again. So, gives it the vibe that it's a big match. I don't know, without the streak, without this being, going for 23-0 or 24-0, whatever it would have been now, it's not as big as it probably could have been, so I think they added that stipulation in there to make it, give it that big vibe. This match, I'm back and forth on. I for a while I saw Shane McMahon winning it because, they want to rejuvenate the product or whatever. But then I got to thinking, and here's my thought process on it. I'm going to say Undertaker's just, Shane will get his shots in, he'll do his little coast-to-coast thing, he'll do whatever crazy move he does, because that's what he's known for. But I think what it's going to boil down to is one of two things. Either The Undertaker beats the holy hell out of Shane McMahon so bad to the point that Vince McMahon has a change of heart. Gets in there, tells him, leave him alone, that's enough, just pin him already, pin him, whatever. Undertaker doesn't take kindly to that. He attacks McMahon, Vince McMahon. He'll pin Shane, he'll walk off. The family gets back together. Shane's in the good graces of his father still. His father feels like an ass for doing what he did. And then, of course, The Undertaker's public enemy number one. That's scenario number one. Scenario number two I could see happening is going back to John Cena being cleared for action. John Cena comes out. Say he comes out. Shane McMahon and Undertaker are down. They're slowly starting to get up in that theatrical moment. And as they start to get up, here comes the horns. Here comes Cena. Crowd's going nuts. 100,000 people going nuts. Cena gets into the ring. Chases, maybe chases Vince McMahon off or Triple H or the Authority off or whoever. And it's just Shane McMahon, John Cena, The Undertaker. Now they're all starting to get up now, and who does Cena go after? Does he go and he hit the AA on The Undertaker so Shane could win? No. I think Cena hits Shane McMahon with the AA. Undertaker gets mad. He's going to win he'll win the match, of course, because of that or whatever, but that would turn around and set up John Cena versus The Undertaker at next year's WrestleMania. So either way, in either scenario, and while I can see them finding a way to put Shane over and have him beat The Undertaker, again, much like every year, I will not go against the grain. I will not go against the man at the event. I'm taking The Undertaker over Shane McMahon. So far, what do we have here? I have Ryback, the Total Divas, Dudley Boys, New Day, Big Show taking the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal Trophy, AJ Styles, Dolph Ziggler, Charlotte, The Undertaker, Dean Ambrose versus Brock Lesnar. I'm saying Dean Ambrose. Brock Lesnar's going to give Dean Ambrose the rub. I say this because they made mention of him not losing in almost 2 years or whatever, not being pinned. They made a big deal about it. They talk about the 22-1. They talk about him being an unstoppable monster, Brock Lesnar, and Dean Ambrose kind of being the crazy one, and he's the one that wanted this. And I think that Dean Ambrose, by this time next year, will have at least had one WWE World Heavyweight Championship reign to his credit. He's just getting there as far as popularity goes. I say Dean Ambrose over Brock Lesnar. And then finally, the WWE World Heavyweight Champion Triple H against Roman Reigns. I think smart booking says this is Roman Reigns' payoff. He is going to win the match and become the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. There's no Money in the Bank winner to come and interfere this time. So there's that. Or maybe Cena gets involved there somehow. I'm not sure, but I'm going to take Roman Reigns to win the World Heavyweight Championship over Triple H at WrestleMania. So one more time that rundown. I've got Ryback, Total Divas, Dudley Boys, New Day, Big Show, AJ Styles, Dolph Ziggler, Charlotte, The Undertaker, Dean Ambrose, and Roman Reigns are your winners of WrestleMania. We're going to go to a commercial break. When we come back, Tripp will be on the line. We're going to talk about his Final Four. But before we go ahead and do, I just want to, I would be remiss if I did not make mention of this because there is some sad news in the world of professional wrestling. UK wrestler Chris Travis has passed away due to cancer of the stomach. He was a veteran of the United Kingdom wrestling scene. He worked at such places as Southside, Preston City Wrestling, and Progress. He announced his retirement last year following his cancer battle, which halted his comeback attempt. This is after having a surgery to remove a stomach tumor and undergoing 18 weeks of chemotherapy. He fought hard. He fought diligently. The wrestling world is saddened by that, as mentioned by tweets by Mick Foley and Neville and Chris Hero, among so many others. It is always a terrible thing when someone so young passes away, especially to cancer. Obviously, our thoughts and well wishes are with Chris's family and his friends and his fans. Chris Travis, dead at the age of 32. We'll be right back. You know, I'm often asked about the logos of the show and Gear Network and everything. It comes to me, JC, where do you get the designs, the cool designs for the show and everything? And I want to tell you, I'm going to tell everybody right now, right here, you heard it here, it is Indie Card Media. Indie Card Media is a local business that specializes in making quality designs for your website or your business. Whatever you do, they can do it. If you need proof, you can look at all of our logos, or you can go to facebook.com/IndieCardMedia to see all of the designs, which include a political banner, because they've done political banners, and I mean everything. Nothing is off limits with them. Give Eric a shout at IndieCardMafia@gmail.com, and he will help you bring your design to life. Tell him Gear Network sent you, and hey, he may hook you up with a little something, or at least a smile, because you heard it here. But go to Indie Card Media Facebook. Again, facebook.com/IndieCardMedia. Do it now. Bring your designs to life.
From the Gear Network studios, once again, JC Money.
All right, everybody, I am here with Tripp. That's right, the madness of Tripp. Mad Hatter Tripp, Mad Wolf Tripp. Mad names this guy has for himself, Tripp. He's my opponent on July 9th at OSPW Wrestlefest. Tripp, my man, how's it going?
Oh, it's going well. I'm finally taking a moment to kick back and relax. Social media is going nuts, and clearly this whole hashtag One Last Trip has gotten a lot of people talking, and even a lot of people that should probably shut their mouths. But that's a different story. We won't talk about that.
Oh, we can talk about whatever you want, but let's actually start with that hashtag One Last Trip. For those that may not be in the know, can you explain exactly what led to One Last Trip?
Oh, well, if I'm going to go into this, let me first clear the air. One Last Trip, this entire thing going to September 10th, I have not used the word retire. I'm leaving. Now, when you leave something, you do leave it open to come back. I'm leaving. There's a lot of reasons as to why I'm leaving that select few people know, but I haven't really divulged publicly. So is that basically what you're asking me to do?
If that is what you wish to do, by all means. Let me just preface this as well by saying I absolutely said that I retired and I'm coming back. So go ahead, haters, hate.
All right. Well,
I've been saying for you, Tripp, is that you're stepping away indefinitely. Is that kind of what you're
that's very accurate.
Okay.
Yes, that's very accurate.
All right, go ahead, proceed.
The reason that I'm, stepping away, leaving, taking a break, taking a hiatus, possibly retiring, is the amount of lying, backstabbing, self-defecating, self-promoting, just ego-driven, self-righteous, pompous bastards there are in numerous locker rooms, in numerous cities, states, wherever. I'm so sick and tired of it. I really am. That's what it really boils down to. Like, I love the fans. I love the money I make. I love the fun that I have. I love everything that I do. It's very far and few between that I look back on a match and say that I didn't enjoy it. And I don't enjoy a lot of the company that I keep when I'm in multiple different locker rooms. And I don't want to associate myself with that anymore.
I can understand that, but now let me kind of pose this to you. So, playing devil's advocate here. All right, you don't want to associate with certain people and certain elements in certain locker rooms. Why is Tripp going on one last trip? Why doesn't he just say, screw this, I'm just going to go somewhere else?
Because I work multiple places. Me saying I'm going to go somewhere else doesn't necessarily fix the problem or avoid the problem. It just, gives me a speed bump in a situation. It lets me buffer, if you will, having to deal with those elements. On top of which, I have a beautiful, beautiful baby girl that I don't get to see on these weekends where I'm booked. I'm on the road with the rest of the IndyCar Mafia nearly every weekend, and I want to do more things with her. I want to put her in, dance or something. I want to sit back and actually wake up on a Saturday morning, not have to worry about packing my gear bag, not have to worry about doing ring crew if I'm local, not have to worry about being in a car, 9 hours home, there and home. I don't have to worry about being awake the entire car ride. I can kick back and relax for a day, and I don't know how that feels. My entire adult life since I turned 18 has been in a wrestling ring, and I don't know what it's like without it.
I can tell you. I can tell you right now, I have experience in both. So, when I took my hiatus, because initially it was a hiatus until the surgery, and then after I had the shoulder surgery, I was going to reevaluate, which I ultimately did, and used the retire word. But let me tell you, it's been a joy. It really has. Like you, I got into pro wrestling at 19. So literally through my entire young adulthood, from 19 all the way until about 31, it was wrestling. That was all it was wrestling. Even after my first daughter was born, I still wrestled, and it became harder and harder and harder for me to do. And so this 4 years that I've been away and I've just been dad has been, honestly, I would never, ever, ever, ever take this back. So I can tell you, knowing you personally, and yes, you do have a very, very, very beautiful baby girl. She's going to love it, and you're going to love it too.
I agree. I know I'm going to love it. I know she's going to love having me around more. But it's, there's always that itch. Come on. I didn't exactly have to twist your arm too bad to get you back in the ring at least one more time.
No. I said it. You didn't. You're not hearing it now because I've just recorded this. Obviously, it's a podcast, people. We record in segments here. But I did touch up earlier on, and I said that I had always, I didn't rule out the one-offs. Even though I said retired, I didn't rule out the one-offs. I was very, very close to it being done in 2014. And had that run happened in 2014 at Pier 6, we might not be talking about this today. For me, like I mentioned in the Better Live Than Dead podcast, it's more about the story. Now, at this point, at this stage of my life, I'm not looking to make a career out of this, professional wrestling, that is, and it's about the story of JC Money versus Tripp, and the story that has been told on and off over the past 10 years. You believe it's been 10 years since you rang my bell?
Ooh. Has it really been that long?
Yes, it has. So, I want to say, let's say the first time it was, maybe, well, yes, this is 10th year because it was 2006. It was, September of 2006. when we first, not when we first met, but when we first wrestled. And that was where I took the moss covered 3-handle family credenza onto the top of my head and blacked out for the match, and it wasn't fun. But the match itself,
it was a good match, though.
Well, I'll tell you, I didn't realize how good of a match it was until I actually watched the video, and I was like, oh, I did that. That's awesome. That's awesome. But then as far as our second match goes, I think that was right around the time when I started, the fire started dying out for me. And I sit back and I can look at this match now and I can say that I was not a fan of it, and it was 110% on me because I just looked like my demeanor, it felt good in the ring, but it did not translate well on camera, and I was very disappointed in that. So I think that from that perspective, for my perspective, I want to send the story of JC versus Trip off in a better way than it was. And for me as a character, I want to go out a different way than I did. I don't know if that makes any sense to you.
No, it does. I mean, when we had our first match, I was a guy that was almost lost in the shuffle for NEW, and that match I had against you was a good milestone for how my turn in that company actually happened. I mean, afterwards, Brian came back, Spot Monkeys Inc. happened, and the rest is history. I mean, that first match we had in Brockport it was the turning point for me with that company. The second match that you mentioned, that was in the midst of my uphill battle to get my OSPW Heavyweight Championship for the first time. When that one happened, we brought you in because it was a make or break for me. If I lost, my career was over. But if I won, I was getting my title shot. So I ended up winning.
Tiger was the champion then, right? Is that how it tied in? I can't remember.
That's how it tied in. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And that's when Brian was part of the UWC, so that's how that whole finish, happened, so on and so forth.
Okay.
Now, around that time, I was actually very bitter about a lot of things that were going on with how I was being treated in OSPW and all the people that were my quote-unquote betters and their ability to politic. So while I feel that the match we had was not bad our second time around, I do understand by what you mean that it didn't translate well to camera.
Yeah, it was we were in two totally different places, I think, but I kind of had a similar feeling. I think like you were more bitter about, like you said, how you felt you were treated in comparison with the main event people, and I was at a point where I kind of wanted to be dad, and this wrestling thing just wasn't fun for me anymore. So yeah, I mean, I honestly, I didn't know your side of it. So that probably it makes a little more sense now, thinking of your perspective on it with my perspective and why the match looks like it did. So I guess I'm justified in feeling that way.
Oh no, absolutely. I couldn't agree more in all actuality. Yeah, at the time I was so bitter, and I had a couple of matches, probably because that was December of 2010.
Yes, it was.
And I beat Tiger for the title January of 2011. And I think, honestly, from the match just prior to you that I had with Cryptic Keegan, all the way up until I lost the title in a triple threat match with Brian and Tylicious, I was probably only 25% mentally focused on what I was doing in the ring. The other 75% just kept saying, what the hell am I doing here?
And you see, you played it off very well because even though I was away, I kept tabs on my friends and I would watch, read the results or whatever. And you had a pretty damn good run there as the man. So that's I think what makes this match with me and you so special this time around, because yes, there is that feeling of finality to it, but you've been the man at OSPW for the past 4 years. You've been right up there, with the Cashises and the Deacons and all that. You've been right up there, main eventing most of them, multiple title runs. The show has been on your back for the better part of those 4 years, and now here's me coming in. We're renewing this old rivalry, putting the final exclamation point on it, and it's at OSPW's biggest show. So for me, I think that's beyond cool.
Well, I couldn't have it any other way. I mean, after I lost the title last year, September, and I didn't get my rematch until February of this year, and when I did, it was in a triple threat match, and OSPW had known at this point that I decided to take my leave. Well, they did to them, they did the right thing and say, listen, if you're going to leave, if you don't win this match, we're not giving you another title shot. Because the last thing they want to do is what has happened to OSPW, unfortunately, several times, is someone is a champion and they leave while being champion.
I can't really say anything about that. That kind of happened twice to me. But the first time was the tag title, and that was through the fault of Buffalo Tom, and I was like, nah, to hell with this. And then the second time was because I had a family emergency here, and instead of gimmicking it, and saying, hey, I don't feel my challenger's worthy, because everybody would have bought that story, being that I was this big bad guy, JC Money, as the champion, and then coming in the following show to drop it so I could, do what I need to do at home. They were just like, no, screw it. We're going to send Tiger out there, and he's going to fire you and take your belt and all that crap. And we'll work with you on the way back. And I'm like, yeah, nuts to that. My deal was I was there until the title run was done. You strip me of the belt, goodbye. I'm done. That was kind of my thing there. But I get what you're saying there, and I kind of smile and sip this beer.
Yeah, like I said, they felt they had to do the right thing. You know what? I don't blame them. I understand it. And besides, I guess I'm going to toot my own horn here, and it's not really my intent, but you said I've basically been the man at OSPW for the last, 4 years, and I agree. I feel like I have been.
Tell me someone else. Tell me someone else that's done what you've done over the past 4 years. That's been as consistent as you in that card in the past 4 years. I can't say Tiger was. He's been up and down that card so many times. It's like a freaking like a stat machine or a lie detector test. Going up and down. He's been up and down there. Deacon has been in the middle of the card and doing the tag team thing. It's really been you. That's not disputable.
It's been me, it's been Cassius, and it's been Tyler Lime, formerly known as Riot. It's been us. But while I won't necessarily put a whole lot solely on me, I guess I've been the face of OSPW, because whether it was the social media, whether it was public appearances, whether the actual in-ring work itself, the title runs, the main events, and yeah, sure, it's been me. But it's a company on the whole, because you can't rule out the people like Mikey Every Night, Chris West, guys that are the local boys that put a whole lot of asses in the seat. You can't rule them out. So,
all right, I want to talk.
Man, getting off point.
It's all good. It's all good. It's a podcast. That's what it's for. Don't worry about it. We're probably going to go off track multiple times here. But real quick, before I go to that, I want to actually get your thoughts on a few other things, including Mike McGee, and I want to talk to you about that right after we hit this commercial break and give some love to some of our other shows on this network. Come back in a few. Hey, Dawn, how's it going?
Living the dream. I'm actually just getting ready to do this commercial.
Oh, you mean the commercial where I tell our listeners to tune into Gear Network every week to listen to our show, Get Ready America? That one?
Yeah, John, that's the one.
They can also listen to us talk about news, sports, whatever's on our minds, that.
And a little what's on our listeners' minds, but they're just too nice to say it.
Well, that, Dawn, is a real humdinger.
Humdinger.
Come join us this and every week for Get Ready America exclusively on the Gear Radio Network.
And the Gear Network app.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I am Ryan Wolf.
it's Mr. Perez.
And I have a question for you, Perez.
What's your question?
Do you like to listen to people talk about sports?
No. Of course I like sports and listening to people talk about sports.
Well, guess what? I have the perfect solution for
You
you.
have a solution for me?
There's a podcast
Okay.
on this very network.
This network?
Every single week you can hear it.
Really?
New content, latest and breaking news. We talk about baseball, football, hockey, basketball, soccer, UFC, whatever you want to talk about.
So sports in general.
They talk about sports in general. You got
Okay.
it.
I like
you
it.
know the dictionary.
I like
very,
it.
Very proud of you.
Thank you.
I must say, tune in. We are better live than dead
You're not.
every single week. You're not going to want to miss it exclusively here on the Gear Radio Network.
I want to talk to you about Mike McGee because
Oof.
I don't know if it was fate or if that's just the way it was, but we're going to be wrestling on the cusp of the 2-year anniversary. Is it 2 years already?
Yeah, August will mark 2 years.
Yeah, so that's yet another kind of special thing for that. Like the whole match, just the whole thing around it, not just us, but what it means to so many people and what it can mean to so many people. I assume McGee's son's going to be there for that show, right?
Oh yeah, Steve has been at the last almost every single show for years. I've known Steve since he was a teenager when I first met Mike. In fact, Steve, this past show was actually ringside with me.
Okay.
This past show in March actually took place 5 days after Mike's birthday. So Steve originally asked me to wear his dad's boots, to wear Mike McGee's boots to the ring and wrestle in them, and I was going to say yes, but at the same time, there's no one that could fill Mike's boots, both figuratively and literally. So we had him at ringside. We had him, Mike was in my corner again one last time, and in fact, we actually used Mike's boots to finish the match. It was myself against Tyler Lime, and after Tyler Lime hits Steve, who, mind you, Steve is not a trained wrestler, but he took that hit to the mouth hard. He took it well. And when the ref was paying attention to him, Tyler Lime got Mike McGee's boots right across the jaw, and then a super kick from me, 1, 2, 3, and that's where it went. So
Now, correct
Mike
me if
McGee
I'm wrong.
got to get dirty one more time.
Well, now correct me if I'm wrong. Mike McGee used his finishing move was the pedigree, right? He did a variation of the pedigree.
Yes, he did.
I'm going to pedigree the shit out of you in our match.
Well, I did pedigree Tyler Lime. I did do that.
Oh, all right. Well, then I guess I'll think of something else then. But all right, let's close it out here with the Final Four. We saw the Final Four graphic come up last week. It was
Yes.
Sean Carr, myself, Deacon, and Eric. So let's go through all 4 of those. We're going to save me for last because this is my show. But talk to me about Sean Carr. Why did you want that match?
I have been dying to wrestle Sean Carr since he first broke into the business. He actually cut his teeth a little bit training and working at OSPW before he really got on the road. He was under the wing of a couple of good guys, and he's taken his wrestling career and he's ran with it. So I want to find out. I want to know, is this kid as good as I feel that he is? I just really want to wrestle him because I want to know how good he really is when he's across the ring from me.
Okay, fair enough. We're going to skip me, and let's go to Deacon. Why do you want to wrestle him?
Because it hasn't happened. You think OSPW, and you said it yourself, people that are synonymous with the name, Deacon, Tripp, and one-on-one, that match has never happened. The Glory Boy Deacon of OSPW against the face of OSPW, Tripp, it just needs to happen one time.
That never happened?
Has never happened one-on-one.
Jesus, I did not know that. You learn something new every day.
That's exactly why I want this match.
That's kind of like, I mean, when you think about it, and Deacon, if you're listening to this, you can, verify this too, but it almost feels like, you've been the face of the modern, and I can say this because OSPW is 12, 13, how old is OSPW now?
OSPW will be celebrating 14 years when you and I wrestle.
14 years, okay. So OSPW, as of press time, is 13 years. So we can definitely say that there have been different eras in there. And there's the Tripp era, and then there's the Deacon era, which was, pretty much the beginning all the way until right around the Tripp era. You mean to tell me that in that entire time, you guys have not been in the ring one-on-one?
Never one-on-one. We've had tag matches. We've actually been partners before. We've gone against each other with Spot Monkeys Inc. versus Sons of Thunder, but Tripp versus Deacon one-on-one has never happened. I've wrestled Bishop several times, never Deacon.
Wow. All right. Well, now that just brought that match to a whole new level, so to speak. Like I never knew that, so that's going to be interesting. I would almost equate that to like Hogan Austin. Honestly,
Hogan, it's going to be that fun.
Right. All right. So Eric is the proposed final match.
Yes.
Why him?
I picked Eric for a lot of reasons. The number one reason why I picked Eric is he needs this match against me more than I need this match against him. Eric, I told him this flat out at the show, and I'll say it again so, the fans that weren't there, they can hear it. Eric's been in a lot of different people's shadows. He's an Amanon, so he was in Brian's shadow for a long time. He's Tiger Smith's student, so he was in his shadow for a long time. He got his first spot and first title because I blew my knee out. He's been trying to climb out of that, stigma of someone handing him something or someone, above him or him playing to somebody else or backing up somebody else.
He's
Eric
done a goddamn good job of that.
Against me. Oh yeah. Oh, he's been phenomenal. You've asked him, no matter what, he's been a workhorse. But he hasn't broke through that glass ceiling yet. I don't want to say he's almost typecasted to certain roles when it comes to wherever he operates, but it's almost like he just needs that one good fight to bring it out of him. Now, mind you, when Cassius was heavyweight champion and he was the junior, and Eric was the junior champion, they had a great main event. He's the only guy to be a cruiserweight champion to go against a heavyweight champion OSPW, so it was a big deal, and he had a great match.
Right.
But it wasn't enough to make him the main eventer of OSPW. Now, you said it yourself, most of the main events have been synonymous with me for years. Again, that's why Eric needs this match. I could have picked anybody else. I want Eric to bring everything he has, because if he can't beat me, then he doesn't deserve the spots that I earned. If he can beat me, then he has a better chance to solidify his legacy and his career.
Okay, it's fair enough. That's the proverbial rub. You got it, kid. I get it. It's one of those things. We've all been there at one point or another, and for Eric, that's his time. So let's go. Let's get down to me here. Let's talk about me on my show. Why was I important enough to have a match, especially at the biggest event at OSPW. What about me is what's the reason for me, I guess?
Well, before I get to why you, let me give a quick summary as to why not a lot of other people.
Oh, hold on. Get ready, America. It's a not only is it a plug for my other show, but it is my phrase, my catchphrase. Get ready, America. Go on, Trip.
I had a lot of people when I announced that I was doing this whole one last trip. I had a lot of people ask me to be involved in my last few matches, not just at OSPW, but at other feds. So I have a lot of different things going on, a lot of different places that I'm really looking forward to. Len Oddity at In Your Face Wrestling, Brandon McGregor at NOW in Toledo. Like, I have a lot of, good, solid things going on heading out. I had a great match against Dave Chris up on YouTube.
And I don't mean to interrupt you here. You mentioned Len Oddity, and if Len is listening to this, I remember Len when he first broke in. It was, I think, in 01 or 02. No, it was in 02. And he was doing a biker gimmick, and his name was Suicide Joe.
It's great.
Just wanted to throw that out there. Sorry, Len, I gave up the boss on you. No, go ahead, Trip.
But, I had a lot of people ask to be involved. I had a lot of people ask me for matches at OSPW. Luke Kane Saker, he asked me to be involved. And when he asked me, I already picked who I wanted for my final run at OSPW. However, Luke Kane, he's been on the road with me. He's a good kid, so I think I want to get him in there. It's not going to happen at OSPW. Anarchy, he asked me for it. Tommy Mandrake has. These guys asked me for these matches, and I was like, you know what? I would love to do all these matches, but there's matches that just mean a little bit more to me for my personal value, because I want my matches to be, not that they're not good workers or credible, but I just want these matches to be something I can go out on a real high note for myself. Tiger Smith asked, how come I wasn't on your list? And the 100% honest reason is that gimmick of Trip versus Tiger has been beaten to death and does not need a repeat. Like, just putting it out there, Trip versus Tiger does not need to be done again. It was done to death of UWC versus Spot Monkeys Inc. It was done to death for a year and a half over the OSPW Heavyweight Championship. It was done several times via promos. It just doesn't need to be done again.
I get it. It's been done. It's been done so much. I mean, that was a large portion of your early run was against Tiger.
Yeah. I don't need it. And Tiger, you don't need it. I mean, let's be honest. You don't need it. You have everything with the Western New York title tap-out thing. You just don't need it. I had Gabriel Soul ask me. It wasn't going to happen at OSPW, but he and I made it happen down in Pennsylvania. So, Gabe, thank you very much for that. Now, aside from those that aren't, why Trip versus JC Money and why at WrestleFest 14? Well, we said a couple of times on a couple of podcasts that I've been on, when I broke my neck, you were one of the people that helped keep my head square. And, with that, I've, since even prior to that, you've always been a friend of mine. And then after that, you've been, your family. That's what it boils down to there, is I want you in there. Now, you've talked about, these one-offs. I was like, if anyone's going to get a one-off, it's going to be me. That's just me being greedy. I've wanted the rubber match, the round 3, the final confrontation between Trip and JC for me. The fans can get a kick out of it. They'll pay their money. They'll get one hell of a match. They'll see a good story. I want the match just because I want to get in there with my family, beat the hell out of them, and then grab a beer afterwards.
Well, I mentioned on Better Live Than Dead last week that almost the same sentiment there, that it's just two old buddies, two veterans of the game wanting to have fun one more time, and for those that don't understand, wrestlers' idea of fun is beating the crap out of each other and then drinking a beer afterward.
Oh, totally. Now, there is a specific reason why I picked WrestleFest 14. Now, we won't mince hairs here. There's no reason to hide it. You have been a major voice as far as, the bad goings-on in Western New York wrestling. You have not strayed away from calling people out on their crap. You have not hidden anything if you like or dislike something. And one of the reasons why I picked you for WrestleFest 14 is there's going to be a lot of guys in the locker room that this is going to piss off. And you know what? I'm okay with pissing them off and smiling while doing it because this match isn't for them. And it's a big reality check that, hey, at the biggest show of the year at OSPW's anniversary, there's a guy that you don't like for whatever reason, whether it's his mouth, his voice, his killer Iron Sheik impressions, whatever reason that you don't like JC Money, that's fine. You have to grit your teeth and deal with business being business because that's what this is a business. And if you don't like it, get out.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely going to be some Iron Sheik impersonations going on there, too. But, all right, man. Well, I am looking forward to it. It is going to be fun. I'm not going to give up the boss on much about the story until the weeks progress. But, hey, I can safely say that we're all, everybody is on the same page with it. So I'm really excited about this. And, Tripp, thanks for joining me here on Talking Wrestling, the season premiere. And look forward to things to come.
Hey, John.
Yo,
John, I do have one thing,
okay.
And this is a public announcement. Stated right now, our match, everyone with the exception of Mirage and Mr. Perez is banned from ringside.
Well, all right. I'll make sure that the crew that I'm not really involved with. Honestly, I mean, I'm not UWC, so it's not going to matter. But yes,
I know. But the rest of the IndyCar Mafia will be chilling.
They could chill with the.
You don't have to worry about them.
I don't know.
Yeah, they could.
But yeah, no, I'm totally in agreement. I don't want anybody else. I don't want any involvement, and there will not be any. You have my word on that.
You have mine.
All right, cool. Tripp, my brother, thanks for joining.
Hey, thank you. It was a blast.
All right, that was Tripp. Just got off the phone with him there, and good talk as always. And again, it's just two buddies that are gonna go and do what wrestlers do, and that's beat the crap out of each other, and then have some beer afterwards. So thank you, Tripp, for joining me. And again, it's July 9th, WrestleFest 14. It is the premier show of OSPW. It is the granddaddy of them all for OSPW, and you need to be there, and you need to stay locked in here to the Gear Network, whether it is Get Ready America, or it is Talking Wrestling, or Football Talk, or whatever I do, whatever little specialty podcasts I do, because I'm going to try maybe finagle a few free tickets for some listeners and do a little contest here or there, whatever, maybe, I don't know, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to end it now here. We're going to take it home. This has been Talking Wrestling, episode 32. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Each and every single week we do a podcast, or every 2 weeks or whatever we do a podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in here. And I want to go ahead and say this is a copyrighted podcast of the Gear Radio Networks. Any rebroadcast or reproduction without the express written permission of the Gear Radio Networks is strictly prohibited. The executive producer of this podcast is my co-host on Get Ready America, Mrs. Dawn Semino. And I want you to tune in again. Get Ready America. We're gonna record another episode. Whether it's this week or the week after, not sure, but we'll get one up there. And then Talking Wrestling will return next week with our post-WrestleMania edition, and then every 2 weeks following that until the end of the season, which may or may not be around WrestleFest 14. But Again, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for shopping Amazon using GearNetwork.com. Thanks for downloading the app and supporting some of our other sponsors as well. So long, everybody. Good night now.
Recognized symbol of excellence in sports entertainment.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network.